Welcome to the Connected Spirit Podcast, a space where the mystical and the human experience merge, where we explore what it really means to walk a spirit-led path. I'm Courtney Dawson, an ethical medium and mentor, and for as long as I can remember, I have felt the presence of the spirit world. But my journey hasn't been simple. It's been one of self-discovery, healing from religious and emotional trauma, navigating fear, judgment, and the loneliness that comes with embracing something the world doesn't always understand. This podcast is here to take what was once considered woo and bring it into the real lived experience of being human. Because mediumship isn't just something we do, it's who we are. Here we dive into the conversations no one else is having, breaking down misconceptions, exploring the unseen, and normalizing the journey of deep connection. We'll talk about the beauty and the struggle of being a medium. We'll laugh, we'll reflect, we'll go deep. And most importantly, we'll remember who we are, why we're here, and how spirit moves through us all. So if you've ever felt something more, if you've ever questioned the unseen, or if you're simply ready to embrace the fullness of your spiritual path, you're in the right place. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the Connected Spirit Podcast. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Hannah MacIntyre, internationally recognized evidential medium, bestselling author, and host of the Mediumship Matters podcast. Hannah has become one of the most trusted voices in making mediumship accessible, grounded, and genuinely human. Hannah, thank you so much for being on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on, Courtney.
Oh, you're welcome. You are fascinating because there's a lot of layers to your personality. You're not just wearing the hat of medium, author, teacher, social app creator. You wear a lot of hats. Before we kind of delve into that, let's go back maybe a little bit. You didn't really know growing up that you were a medium.
No.
What was that first moment that made you pause and go, what is this all about? And where do I go to find answers or figure this all out?
I was at work in my muggle job. I was a PA at a music school. And I know that everybody has those kind of hitting the bottom moments in their lives. And I'd had two children, and I was just stuck with how hard it seemed. And if I'm honest, a hefty level of guilt that the world seemed broken and difficult and dark. And I'd added children who I loved more than anything into it. And I felt I was really lost, really, really lost. And my grandfather had passed when I was about 19. And, no one in my family went to mediums. No one ever went for a reading. It never came up that anyone would suggest to go for a reading. I watched Medium on the TV, but I didn't really ever apply it to my life. And I was at work one day, and my colleague just got him through and went, "You've got your granddad here." We were talking about music lessons. And she went, "I've got your granddad." And then did this spirit link that blew my mind, and then invited me to her circle. She said, "Oh, you should come. You're shiny. You'll like it." And I thought she meant come and watch. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll hear from him again, or I'll get to see somebody else have a message. That will be brilliant. Can't wait to see that. And I turn up at this, circles are always slightly awkward when you start. You turn up
Yeah.
and it's all really awkward. You've got no idea what's going to happen. And they're like, "Your turn." And I'm like, "Oh, no, sorry, no. I'm here to watch." And they say, "Oh, no, 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 no. You're here to work." And so I can't remember the actual moment where I realized I could do it, because it was the series of trying to do it and failing. A couple of times of making some stuff up so that they'd leave me alone. Oh, yes, I got a message. It was a butterfly. It's about unfolding your wings and flying. Bye, exit stage left, complete absolute bollo, totally made up by me. And then I just loved it. From the minute I went, I fell in love, and the whole world changed for me. My experience here completely changed. And that was what did it. It was just that following of, this is the best thing I have ever experienced. Can I do it again?
It's kind of like when the spirit world dangles that carrot and they're like, Hannah, this is that potential within you. Come on now. And then
what does life look like after that? You have this experience, you give a message. This is it, the it for you. What does that look like after you get out of the circle? What happens for life? Because your view on your lived experiences and your place in the world is now forever changed. What do you do with that?
I don't know what I did with it, to be honest. I think I put it in a box, to be
Okay.
honest. I'd
Okay.
love to tell you that I had some, but there's no one to talk to about it. I don't know anybody who knows mediums. I don't know anybody who goes to spiritual. It wasn't a group where you had contact details. There was no one to, so every week I would go, and then I would come home, and my husband, who wasn't a believer then, is on the fence now, would go, "Did you have a nice time?" And I'd go, "Yes." And he'd go, "Oh, that's nice." And then I would just spend my days with the children, running here, there, and everywhere. And it was really the perfect storm for me because I didn't have time to overthink it. I didn't have time to question it. In honesty, I would go, open the box, batshit crazy stuff would happen. I would leave, the box would shut, I would live my muggle life. And then I would go the following week. And it was just like that.
So fast forward, where do you get to this point of now I'm going to start working professionally and bringing through evidential communications? Because some people think, well, if you sit in a circle and you develop your mediumship, that means that you're meant to do this work professionally. Some people do it for their own inner healing, to learn to connect to their loved ones. But for you, your path is different. What does that look like for Hannah?
I never intended to do this professionally.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I went because I loved it. I had no agenda other than what the frickety frick. Let's do it again. It's like getting off a roller coaster and going, let's get straight back on. That was all it was. There was no plan for me. I think spirit, they knew. And then I would love to say, Courtney, that it was a beautiful, softly lit, golden path that laid out before me. And I ascended to my spiritual work, like with angels tooting and a cloud. And actually, I think I've crawled on my hands and knees through difficulty after difficulty and hardship after hardship. And it hasn't been the journey that I would have thought it would have been if it was my calling. And yet I still believe that it was. And I believe that all of that served a purpose.
That's so powerful. I want to pause for a moment because you've said a couple of things that like hit really hard for me. And I know that those that are going to listen are going to go, holy shit, okay, I can see myself in your story. So you started your mediumship not with a plan or agenda. I mean, I know when I started, I didn't even know the vast extent of what the spirit world had in plan and store. I still had free will and all of that, but
Yes.
that was never my motivation either. Some people, as we grow in the online space, mediumship is more accessible, it's more kind of mainstream. People, they see this image or this facade that's portrayed very curatedly,
Hmm.
that we develop, we become professional, we make money, publicity, etc. But at the heart of it, for ethical mediums like you, it's about starting off of showing up, discovering of self, and how do I serve? That has been when I've watched you and I've listened to you, that seems to be a real anchor for you. Can you maybe share a little bit about that? Because I know for me that resonates really deeply. And I think that can inspire a lot of people and maybe just shift their view on how they actually approach mediumship.
I think for me, it was quite lonely. Um, and so I had the circle, but the beginner's circle, well, the beginning circle that I went to was an advanced circle. So I didn't want to ask ridiculous questions and hold everybody up. And then I ended up going to a beginner's circle after that. And it was just, for me, there was so much imposter syndrome in me and so many difficulties and so many hard lessons. And I started, when I launched my business, I started with Reiki and card readings, and evidential came in afterwards. So after I had a business running, and the evidential journey was soul crushing for me. I had teachers that didn't want me to do well. I was always the one that people, you could tell people were getting frustrated because I had a question. The number of teachers that said to me, we don't worry about the how, we just do it. But I needed to know the how. And I needed to understand why one day I could get a link and the next day it was like radio silence. What's the difference? Is it me? Is it spirit? And I just had this idea that, and I think because of social media, that if I knew I was supposed to be a medium, I'd know. And my path would be easy, and it would be this lovely, gentle ascension like a balloon floating up, instead of which it has been learning through hardships, learning through difficulties, learning through the inescapable part of me that rocks up in that gap between me and the spirit world, and all of the parts of yourself that you don't like, and dealing and learning with that, and putting in boundaries and putting people and teachers on pedestals, and then realizing they shouldn't even be on a seat, and all of that stuff. And really, I just started sharing with people because I thought, if I went through that, somebody else is going through that. So I couldn't find anyone talking about it being anything other than destiny and ease. So I started talking about how it wasn't like that for me. And then I sort of, more and more people found me through that. And that's how it kind of unfolded.
And you share really transparently on your podcast too, the experiences, the highs, the lows, everything in between, the love, the light, the dark, the all of it, because there is this misconception that it is just cherubs and floating clouds and blue skies, and that's not the reality. That might be an aspect of it, but we're still human. You're still human. You still have lived experiences. You still have challenges and hurdles to overcome, and mediumship can really test you and try you, and that's a part that often gets overlooked. So people will come into development and go, but hold on, wait a minute. This isn't what I thought this was going to be like. And it's kind of like that old saying, separate the wheat from the shaft, because you either are going to tough it out and see the beauty of the work that you can do with the spirit world, or you can go on living a muggle life, which there's no shame in that. But it is vastly different than working with the world of spirit, for sure. Where did your philosophy of mediumship as this natural ability really truly begin? And the reason why I ask that is because you're in Britain, and I've trained with some amazing British mediums. I've been to AFC several times. My mediumship mentor was British trained, and there's this philosophy that, and I'm not stereotyping all the mediums, but there's like this philosophy that mediums are born, not made. You either have it or you don't. And I have my own views on that, and I'd love to know what your thought is on that.
Well, I think because my beginning was so bloody weird,
Mm.
um, I had it just innately, because I can look back now and see moments of spirit in my life. But every book at the beginning, when I read all the mediumship biographies, it was, I saw the man who died down the road and he looked like he was alive. I walked into a room and there was a spirit there. And it wasn't like that for me. I learned to do it by trying. And so I think that's just always been there, because I really don't feel that I'm anything special. So
Mm.
if I can do it, you can do it. And this is the thing, my students are so filled with self-doubt, and they go, I don't know if I can do this. And I go, no, it's all right, neither do I. we just rock up and we give it a go. And over time you start to believe in yourself because you get more and more validations. And I think this idea that there's a gift, it really gets my goat, because there are people that are offering courses and taking money from people and then saying, but not everyone can be a medium. And I believe if you're ethical, you shouldn't be selling that course then. You should be working out who can be a medium and only selling your course to them. And I've heard things like teachers saying, some of you have got it, some of you haven't. I won't tell you who it is. It's up to you to work it out. But I've taken all your money. And so if we really I have no problem with anyone believing what they believe. You can believe that mediums are born and not made, but then don't sell to everybody. You can't have it both ways. And I think that for me is the point.
Absolutely. I remember 2 years ago when I went to AFC, and they have with large groups of people that come, anywhere from like 80 to 100 people. They have
Hmm.
the course organizer and then the supporting tutors. And there was this one lady, she was awesome. And she's giving a contact, and then she's getting some critique by one of the tutors. And the tutor pulled her aside, was so rude to her, and said, "You're not actually linking with the spirit world. You're not a medium. What are you doing here?" And she paid good money to go to the school, to the college. She was so stripped of any confidence, any feelings of worthiness. She ended up leaving. That devastated not just her, but the other mediums that were there, including myself. And that just, it totally changed the energy for the rest of the week, Hannah. And I thought, oh dear God, for me, that didn't resonate. Whether I thought she was connected to spirit. I mean, I could see the spirit with her. She's linked in. I'm not the tutor, not my job to say anything. But that really, really devastated me and other people, because it then has this hierarchy of, well, it's based on me on this pedestal deciding if you're a medium, if you can connect, and if you're worthy enough. And I just don't think that's how the spirit world has designed mediumship. I mean, let's face it, if they could talk for themselves through a physical form, they wouldn't need us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? It's a means to an end.
Yeah.
And so I believe it's because of their grace and their compassion that we get to do this work. And if there's people that are doing this ethically and for heart-centered reasons, then let them work it out in their own way of how their mediumship will unfold. What are your thoughts on that?
It sounds very similar to my experiences, to be honest. I had a tutor tell me in front of the entire group when I asked for help, they told me it was my imagination and I wasn't working with spirit, but never gave me any instruction on how to correct that. Never gave me any instructions to how I would know if it was my imagination or how I would know it was spirit. And I have to say, all of those things devastated me. I don't know how I've ended up here. And that's what I mean about crawling through it.
Yeah.
It has been me quitting and going, stuff this. This is too painful. I haven't got it. Crying and crying and crying, processing all of that. And then a week later going, but oh, I wonder if I
Mm.
tried that, would that work? And that has always, luckily, brought me back around. And whether that is a calling or just luck, I don't honestly know. But none of these tutors could tell me what to do. And so I then made it my kind of life's work to work out how it works so that I could tell people what to do. And I've spent a decade experimenting and, asking those questions. And because I had such good connection to spirit guides from my first circle and those experiences, I got them to teach me. So, and they have all the answers, which is the crazy thing. And I don't think I'm special in that, which makes it really interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If your theory is that some people can do mediumship and some can't, and that person isn't doing it, but you can't tell them how or why, then why aren't you going to your spirit team to find out the answers to teach them, to be a better teacher? Why is your teaching built on squashing people as they're trying to come up?
Absolutely. And this really kind of leads into the next thing I wanted to talk about. What you've gone through, what you've experienced has really inspired you to create this really digestible, down to earth pathway through your books, your popular podcast, and your courses. And what I love about what you've shared, Hannah, is that your guides are the ones that have taught you and supported you. And for those that are familiar with spiritualism, especially modern spiritualism, those pioneers of spiritualism, they didn't have no tutors. They didn't have the books, they didn't have the internet. They worked with their spirit guides. And back then, we were seeing some incredible evidential mediumship, trance communication, trance philosophy, physical mediumship. And my thought is, and this is just my opinion, is because all of the noise wasn't even present. It was just them in spirit. That's it. And that's
But
really a testament to your story.
I mean, I think it's really interesting how little spiritualism has evolved in the last 20, 30 years.
I
Because if
know.
you look at the pioneers and what they were creating, it then just didn't really move.
Yeah.
We weren't at the leading edge creating new ways and new understandings. We were recycling what they had learnt
Yeah.
en masse. And I think it has actually slowed the development of mediumship overall down, because it just became, for example, and I know this isn't for everybody, sitting in the power. You've got to sit in the power. Well, what is the power? How do you know if you're sitting in it? And I don't sit in the power. I just work. I don't need to sit in the power. I need it. I need to build my connection, my strength. I need to build that power. I need to build my ability to blend. I need to understand how it works. But all of that kind of stuff that is filler, it doesn't really push people on. I think well, I believe currently the industry is crumbling, and it should be. It's having a big tower so it can be rebuilt and it can be moved forward, because I think a lot of the teaching that was supposed to be the best teaching was actually about keeping people small.
Whew. You all heard that here. But it's true though, and you makes a really good point. I got into spiritualism about 11 years ago and did the ministry training program. And it was interesting because by year 7, the spirit world had said to me, Courtney, you're not going to be here long. I go, what do you mean? They said, no, there's information for you here for you to learn, but that's it. And I never really understood it until I stepped away from the church. Now, I still serve spiritualist churches, not as many as what I did. Again, I feel some of the teachings and philosophies are rather archaic. And I think, for God's sakes, the spirit world's growing, evolving as humanity does. Should that philosophy and that science and the evidence of soul survival, should that not as well? That's just Courtney's opinion.
Right.
And I go, oh my gosh. And when I left, I saw it differently. It's interesting, though. We can get so caught up in doing it the way our teachers do. We have to follow this checklist, and that's it. We have to abide by it because this is what they do. And if they do it, we have to do it. And
Mhm.
you're absolutely right. It keeps people confined, kind of like in a bird cage. There's only so much movement that you have. And yet there's the spirit world saying, you guys, wake up. And we're losing that power of what mediumship is all about. And I'd love to know your thoughts on, do you feel the quality and the power of what mediumship is really about is being diluted because of outdated belief systems and people just scrambling, taking little bits and trying to form it into, I'm going to say, kind of like a hot dog analogy. Here you go, the scraps, and put it together
Oh,
and try to
grim.
get, you know what I mean? I'd love to
Yeah,
know your thoughts
absolutely.
on that.
Yeah, I do. And I think it's a real shame. I think for me, I did that thing. I'm going to say like a sausage factory, where I came out and I thought I have to be a copy of the teachers that I respected and liked and thought that were good. And, just to be clear, there were ones that I thought were brilliant. It's a real mixed bag. And so I spent, I mean, probably a couple of years demonstrating being like a version, feeling guilty. And as soon as I just thought, sorry about the swears on your podcast, as soon as I just thought, stuff it. And I thought, right, I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna rock up as me. My mediumship got better, and my connection got stronger. And as a result, because I was being myself, my power was more, there was more power. So there was better evidence. So there was more connection. And it was such a mind-blowing thing to me. But I'd been so damaged and squashed by the journey that took a long time. And I think it actually took my podcast and the people messaging me to say, I'm so glad you've said that. And
Mm.
and me just recording, I don't edit, I just send it out. I don't even listen to them back, because if I do, I give myself the ick, and I go, oh my god, no one's going to want to listen to this is vile. So I don't listen to them back. I just put them out there, and I realized that people liked me.
Yeah.
And that gave me a freedom to be myself and do my mediumship my way, which actually made it better.
Now that's such a contrast. People go, well, huh? What does that mean? I think one of the foundations of developing our mediumship is connecting in with our spirit helpers. They are our eyes and our ears to the other world. They help us understand things through a different perspective. So we get out of the thinking mind into that soul essence. And I love that your philosophy, we share a similar philosophy and some of our ideas, because without the spirit world at the center of what we do, if spirit is absent, there is no mediumship, like at all. I would love to talk about what gap in the spiritual world made you say, I need to create Spirit Social, because this is an incredible app. Let's talk about
Thank
this.
you. I think I'm a bit nuts, to be honest. But I think Spirit, they know how to get me to do things. So somebody, it was Emily Barnard from Emily and Her Stars. She wrote into my podcast and said, have you listened to Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic? I think you'll love it. And I don't know if you've read it or listened to it, but one of the ideas that Elizabeth Gilbert has in there, and I am paraphrasing, but is like that ideas are an energy, and they were like an orb from spirit in my head when she was talking through it. And they'll visit you and give themselves to you, and you have a choice whether you use them or not. But if you don't use them, they'll go and find somebody else. And so it really, that came in. I had that sort of 6 months. And then I teach a lot. I've got a lot of students that are setting up as mediums, and I'm trying to get them seen, because this is the problem. If you're unethical and you share fear mongering and rubbish, you will be seen on social media. If you stay ethical and you stay true and you don't buy into crud, you don't get as good a results. Simple as that now, unfortunately. And so watching these people, some of them losing their way a little bit, some of them really trying to stay true, it was so eye-opening to me to watch it. And I was really lucky that I was ahead of that curve and got my following kind of before it got so toxic out there.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, there must be something we can do. There must be something we can do. And Spirit, like always, just threw down the gauntlet and went, well, what are you going to do? And I went, okay. And the idea came in and I went, all right, I'm in, I'll do it. And so I did. So started this. I mean, I was naive. Hannah this time last year was all like, this is going to be so easy. Oh my God, it's going to be brilliant. And it's why has no one done this before? I'll tell you why no one's done it before. It's very expensive and a lot of work. That's why no one's done it before. But it's done. It's not the final product that's out there, but I'm really proud. We've been live 6 months on a couple of days' time, and it's working. People are connecting. There are live events. There are people doing practice readings. There are people learning, people sharing. So it's already started. I'm really proud of it.
What makes your app different from the other apps? Let's kind of peel that back a little bit, because I've been on the app and it's curated quite differently than a TikTok or Instagram. This is very intentional. Let's kind of walk listeners through this, because they're thinking, what is this spiritual social or spirit social? What does this look like?
Well, it's really interesting. I don't feel it's, you know what it's like working with spirit. I don't I don't think it's what I thought it was going to be. Just to be really clear, I think I very much feel like a pawn in a game of chess, that spirit are just moving across the board, and I just go, okay. So at the beginning, I wanted somewhere. I've got students whose loved ones don't know that they're interested in mediumship because they have got religious, beliefs in the family, or people that think it's rubbish, or people that just don't want to be poo-pooed. And so initially for me, it was a safe space. That was the most important thing. Something that I wanted when I first started developing, where I was going home and going, yeah, fine, thanks, and lying in bed at night with my eyes wide going, but what does this mean? I had no one to ask those questions to. I also, as you know, are really passionate about differing ideas. I love a debate. I love people disagreeing with me. I want my mind to be changed. I am happy to be wrong. And I think that was really important to me, that in the spiritual community, it has been sort of the repeated lessons. And I think some of the lessons were correct 40, 50 years ago. But mediumship and spirit have evolved. Our connection has evolved. So, talking through those things, because you don't know where you're limited until somebody calls you up on it.
Oh,
So
yes.
that's kind of where I wanted to have discussion. I wanted people to be able to ask questions, and I didn't just want people to be able to ask questions and have my opinion. I wanted people to be able to ask questions and have 10 different people's opinions. I wanted people who would, right at the beginning of the journey, to feel empowered to answer, as well as people that are seasoned mediums that have been working for years. So that was kind of my vision. And it is that. But then we got these just wonderful people that have joined that can really see it. And so now we've got this huge number of people that are offering free events and circles and meditations and lessons and sharing. They're not earning any money out of it, because all the money is building the platform and the features. No one's earning anything out of it, and they're all just showing up. And I think there's something about that that makes the energy really quite magical, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It strips away that monetary gain that can be a motivating factor for people, and it's bringing in that connection. People are so desperate for that, Hannah, right now. They are so desperate for genuine connections where people don't have an ulterior motive except to serve and to help. We're
Yeah.
like so I want to say like malnourished right now, our souls, because people are just like, how much can I take from somebody? And you're putting the spirit back in the spiritual work. This is powerful stuff. I love it. For someone who's listening and is doubting their mediumship, maybe even their intuitive abilities, whatever that is, what would you want them to know? Because they go in the online space, there are 5,000 different opinions. You strip it down and you keep things really simple, digestible. What would you say to them?
I would say it's an energy thing. And that is the thing that is always overlooked. So, one of the things that Spirit have been, because you say digestible, I will say I'm a simple soul, and Spirit know that I just need to have it like really basic, and normally a picture, because that picture helps me visualize. And one of the things that they have just been showing me recently is we are inundated on social media with people who are showing their best bits of their mediumship. And if I took a 30-minute reading and I went, I want the best 30 seconds of that reading, I could make myself look magnificent, but it wouldn't be a true reflection of my work. If I took out every no, every every let me try that again, would you understand it this way instead of that way?
Yeah.
It would make my mediumship look better, but it wouldn't be true. And so when you're developing, you start looking, and your feed, your algorithm starts giving you people doing work, and you go, oh my God, they're so much better than me. They're so much better than me. I don't think that's the truth of the situation. And you have to give yourself grace. So the way that spirits show it to me is as if you're driving a car. You would not pull away in any gear other than first gear. So if you are wanting your mediumship to prove itself to you right at the start of a link, that's where your problem is. You need to allow yourself to say the things that you are in your head going, well, that's generic. That could apply to anybody. I hope this is going to get better, and giving it anyway. And in doing that, you build your power, you build the energy with spirit, you build that blend, and then you can move through the gears. But if you try and pull away in sixth gear because you're insistent that you want something provable for you before you give it to the sitter, your car will stall and your mediumship will not even get going.
Well said. Well said. We have so many expectations about our mediumship, but until you actually get going, it really is that slow and steady, and just give what you're receiving, however that comes for you. You don't it doesn't necessarily have to make sense to you. It's just if at the end of it, it makes sense to your recipient, right? Sometimes I always call myself, I'm guilty. I'm the nosy medium. I want to know all the details. Spirit goes,
Yeah.
Courtney, would you shut up and let us talk? I go, okay. You
No.
know? It's the truth
Why do
here.
you want it to make sense to you? But we do. I go,
Yeah.
well, this is weird because your grandmother's showing me this. They'll go, well, yeah, that makes sense to me. And then I'll go, oh, yeah, of course it does, because it's for you.
That's
It's
right.
not really about it making sense to me. I remember.
It's so true. And I often tell my students, mediumship isn't really about us. It's not. We think we're these big pieces of the puzzle. We're not. We're actually a means to an end. We're a fraction of the magic that takes place. And sometimes just that little shift in perception can take that pressure off that we put on ourselves because we want to be validated. We want to bring through the evidence. We want to help others with healing. But at the end of the day, we're only responsible for how we show up. Take a load off. Enjoy the journey, right?
Try.
Yeah, try to enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
You do a lot of stuff, mom, wife, app creator, podcast host, medium, all of that. Do you have a spiritual practice that helps you stay calm, grounded, and centered?
I spend a lot of time on my own, which
Mm,
is interesting because at the beginning of my journey, I was trying to escape me. And I say this all the time to my students, all paths lead back to you.
yeah.
Because they do. You want to go float in the clouds with spirit, having an experience, but you need to be present with yourself. In that microscopic gap when you open up to spirit, all you are faced with in that void is yourself. And if you're not comfortable with yourself and you haven't processed everything you need to process and you haven't sat with all your thoughts, that's all you're going to hear. So I really noticed it after Christmas, I have to say, where I just had so much time and people I love, people I want to hang out with, but I just hadn't had my time that I have every day. And it's not scheduled, but I will just sit and be in my own company and process and see what rises for me. It's not meditation. I'm not escaping or turning my mind off. I'm sitting with what is here and now.
And that's powerful too, because we can get so caught up in the joy and the excitement of connecting with the other world. We kind of want to stay there, but we have to be really
Yes,
mindful we're not leaning into escapism, right? There's so
exactly that.
there's so much value in being human and having this human experience. Hannah, can you tell our listeners where they can get in contact with you, what you have up and coming? Because I know people are going to want to check you out and become a part of your community.
Oh, thank you. Well, my website is hannahmedium.co.uk. I am, I tell you what I could talk about. In June, I have got a week-long event which has got some sightseeing around the UK and also a 2-day evidential course with me and my colleague Jennifer Fezio. So that's going to be really, really lovely. But mainly I'm trying, as I was saying to you, to surrender and not overbook things and wait to see where spirit take me yet, because there is a lot going on and I think I'm doing enough.
You're doing enough balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Hannah, so great to connect with you. Thank you for coming on the show, sharing your love, your light, just who you are with my listeners. I know they're going to get so much value from hearing your words and just getting to know you a little bit more.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.
The Connected Spirit isn't just a podcast, it's a remembering of who we are, a remembering of our connection to spirit, and a remembering that we are never walking this path alone. Mediumship isn't just about speaking with spirits, it's about deepening the connection to our own spirit, to one another, and to the energy that moves through everything. So as you leave this space, ask yourself, what part of this conversation stirred something within you? What connection is spirit inviting you to strengthen? If this episode spoke to you, please share it, leave a review, and connect with me on Instagram at Medium Courtney Dawson or visit my website at mediumcourtneydawson.com. Your presence in this community matters because connection isn't just about what we seek, it's what we are. Until next time, trust your spirit, trust the unseen world, and trust that you are always, always connected.